I have a series of things in my that I use as operatives uh, in order to begin projects and think about how I learn about things. And there are a series of things of working out that there's only 5 ways of organizing information, which is a theory called LATCH, L-A-T-C-H, which has been adopted and by quite a number of people. I mean, Tashin used it in his series of huge books on information architecture and design graphics and design communication. And they are the latches by location, alphabet, time, category, and hierarchy. That there's only 5 ways of organizing, not an infinite number of ways, but 5 ways. And the day somebody thinks of a valid 6 way, I will say there's 6 ways. It's not scientific. It's just something that I worked on. I can't prove it, and I'm not going to bother proving it because it seems to work, and millions of people have heard about it, and I've challenged people in lectures and in books, and nobody's come up with a 6. So, but maybe there are 6. Maybe there's 10, but there's not huge numbers anyway if nobody has challenged the 5. And there's only 5 ways of innovation. There's not an infinite number of ways of approaching something to innovate. And that I have as an acronym called ANOSE, A-N-O-S-E. And there are only 5 subjects, health, wealth, learning, communications, and the environment. There's only five big subjects that basically subsume almost all our interests, almost all the things we do on Earth. And the glue between them all is cartography, because everything takes place someplace in physics, chemistry, in a city, in a place, in a world, a basketball game, a fight, politics, people live someplace, everybody lives someplace. Everything has to do with cartography, the organization of things. And that's the glue of trees, basically, that connect everything. Now, those 3 things sound boring and academic, but they're really very simple, much simpler than reading a whole book on information theory, and are fundamental. The word learning is fundamental to all of them, as opposed to the word education, because I believe that learning, which is where you're going to put this into the educational system, a system I categorically don't believe in, was by definition, people learn, so to speak, to be teachers by doing the same thing that their teachers had done. And the textbooks are all chosen by a small committee in Texas. I know that sounds like conspiracy theory, but it's the truth. And that the people who write them never explain things. And everybody, I think I mentioned to you before, has a doctor story, has a story about a teacher who was very smart, but they didn't understand anything they were doing. We all have a story about her car getting fixed, car repairs, electricians, contractors, lawyers, doctors. I said doctors already. Maybe you have to say them twice. Maybe you should say lawyers 4 times. And of not explaining anything to you. So our system is not based on explaining, then understanding, so we can take action. And understanding precedes action. And most action is taken without understanding. And very few things can you explain them to a literate 12-year-old, or explain them to your mother. There's very simple tests of whether you can explain something and have it repeated back to you, not exactly what you said, repeated back from a understanding position of not just definition, but of giving examples, et cetera, et cetera. But we have a board of education. We believe that our schools will be better. Most of the literature about schools being better are run by the teachers' unions, who feel that if you pay teachers more money, they'll be better teachers. I think everybody should be paid more money. I'm not against paying people more money, but there's no relationship between how much you pay somebody and how good a teacher they are. It just isn't. And there isn't a one-to-one relationship yet proven that if every single child has a computer, every single child has more music or more this, they'd be better. I think they should have a broad way of learning and choosing their interests. And if their interests are in that can be aided and abetted by the use of a computer and getting fluent on computer, I think that should be available too. But it's not the changing point. It's if you gave 1,000 natives in the middle of the jungle hammers, they're not going to build skyscrapers. I mean, it's not the way things happen. It's not the way ideas happen. It's a preconceived notion that the little red schoolhouse, if you spend more money on it and make it bigger, fancier, the hallway skinnier, that's the way people learn. And all the ways you are judged are tests, which is answering a question. When back to Aristotle, Socrates, Einstein, you can, that's a big skip, but you can fill it in with everybody in between, Newton, everybody, have small, different long or short quotes on it's about the question, not the answer. That all science moves ahead, all art moves ahead, all thoughts move ahead, all ingenuity, all innovation moves ahead by the asking of a question, not the giving of an answer. And that a good question is better than a brilliant answer. Yet we lay in front of people somebody's answer without connections. Even the thing that came off of my conference, TED Talks. I never had TED Talks because, as I told you, I think in the earlier part of this conversation, that the TED Talks are each wonderful pearls. Somebody talks about a new book of theirs that they're trying to sell, or a charity they're trying to raise money, or some other fact or something they've gone through. Very interesting stories. But I'm interested also in the connection between that and other things, between what I call the nouns kissing, about the convergence, about the horizontality of life, of understanding patterns and pattern recognition, which is shared by every breakthrough in any one of the fields. It's somebody recognizing a pattern that is that they've thought about and that is personal, that they see, and that's how they learn and maintain their knowledge and have that knowledge grow as viruses into virus is not a bad word, by the way. Viruses that can infect, which is not a bad word, infect other ideas and other people so you can move ahead with what you're doing. My passion is learning. My hate is for the educational system. It's the opposite, actually, of what we're doing, of how we learn, because it's from the top down. It teaches, and there's two words you can put together, memory and memorize. They seem like the same word. Memorize is what our system is based on. You memorize something and you're tested on it. If you were very interested in it, you'll remember it. But most things that we're forced to memorize, we're not interested in. We don't remember it, except for short-term memory, which I call gin rummy memory. You remember the hand you were playing while you're doing it, but you don't, the next hand, you don't remember it. Our brain shuts off. We remember because we have to, and then we forget it. Memory is based on what you're interested in. Two words that seem almost the same, but memory is what we are. How do you learn something? By your memory, by attaching it to things in your head. That's how you learn, because you're interested in it. And interest is better than happiness. So that's my rant on the educational system. And rant it was.